What if I told you that dreaming big is the exact reason you are failing? While you are busy visualizing your perfect future, your brain is treating it as an already won battle. You're not unmotivated, you're trapped in a psychological illusion. In this video, we unlock the brutal but liberating truth of Bushido. Centuries ago, Japan's greatest warriors discovered that waiting for inspiration is a form of slow self-destruction. Today, we reveal how to shatter the gap between wanting and doing, using the exact mindset that forged the ultimate swordsman. Let's dive in. Section 1. The silent trap of dreaming big. Did you know that your biggest goals might be holding you back? 2 seconds. That is all it takes for your mind to trick you. Think about it. You sit down, you close your eyes, and you imagine your perfect future. You see the victory. You feel the success. It feels amazing, doesn't it? But here's the dark secret of human psychology. Your brain cannot always tell the difference between imagination and reality. When you visualize a grand dream, your brain releases dopamine. It rewards you right now. It feels like you have already won the battle. As a result, your survival instinct relaxes. The urgent drive to actually do the hard work simply disappears. You become a dreamer, not a doer. Here is a question for you, especially if you grew up in the West. We are always told to dream big and manifest success. It is the core of modern self-help culture. But have you ever noticed that the more you talk about your plans, the less you actually achieve? In traditional Japanese culture, there is a very different approach. True masters did not spend their time shouting their goals to the world. They valued the beauty of silence and immediate action. They understood that talking actively drains your energy. So, let me ask you a sincere question. Which culture do you think has a healthier relationship with success? Do you believe in the power of public manifestation? Or do you think silent execution is the real key? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This brings us to the core problem. When you confuse dreaming with progressing, you enter a dangerous loop. You are simply drifting further away from the work that actually matters. Section 2. The Tale of Kazuma, the Prison of the Perfect Mind. To understand how dangerous this trap can be, let us look back at history. Centuries ago, in a peaceful province of Japan, there lived a young samurai named Kazuma. Kazuma was not an ordinary student. He was widely considered a genius. His mind was incredibly sharp, and he could understand complex strategies in an instant. He could read a book on sword, fighting, and memorize every single movement perfectly. Because of this unique gift, Kazuma became deeply trapped in his own intellect. He spent hours inside his room, mentally simulating every possible combat scenario. He imagined the perfect parry, the flawless strike, and the ultimate victory. In his mind, he was already an invincible master. But outside his room, in the muddy training grounds, the reality was very different. While other young warriors spent their days sweating and bleeding, Kazuma avoided the basic drills. He told himself that swinging a wooden sword 1,000 times a day was beneath him. He believed that repetitive practice was only for the untalented. Why waste energy on simple movements, he thought. When my mind already understands the highest forms, years passed by in this quiet way. Kazuma's mental plans grew more sophisticated, but his physical skills remained completely frozen. Then, a sudden border conflict changed everything. Kazuma was called to his very first real battle. As he stood on the battlefield facing a real enemy, his mind suddenly went completely blank. The cold rain was heavy, the mud was deep, and the chaos was terrifying. There was no time to think, no time to simulate. He tried to recall his perfect strategies, but his body refused to move. The gap between his thoughts and his actions was a miles-wide canyon. Section 3. The Motivation Myth. Why we wait for the perfect rain. In that critical moment, Kazuma looked across the muddy field. He saw his fellow swordsmen, men he once considered ordinary and untalented. They were moving without hesitation. They did not have perfect strategies, but their bodies simply knew what to do. They had embraced the mud, the sweat, and the endless repetition. Kazuma realized a painful truth right then. His brilliant intellect had not made him stronger. It had made him fragile. His perfectionism was just a beautiful shield to hide his fear of failure. We laugh at Kazuma, but don't we do the exact same thing every day? We tell ourselves we want to start a business, learn a language, or fix our health. But then we look outside. We say the weather is not right. We say we are too tired tonight. We say we need to do more research before we take the first step. This is the great motivation myth. We treat motivation like a magical spark that must arrive before we can move. If the spark is not there, we sit still and wait. But waiting for motivation is like waiting for perfect weather. Before starting a long journey, you will stay in the house forever. The samurai looked at life through a completely different lens. They did not wait for the sun to shine. They trained in the heavy rain, in the freezing snow, and in the dark of night. Training was not an emotional choice for them. It was a default state of existence. So stop asking yourself if you feel like doing the work today. Your feelings are fleeting, and they do not care about your long-term success. If you let your emotions drive your actions, you are handing control of your future to a shadow. Section 4. Miyamoto Musashi's rhythm of repetition. When we think of great masters, we often imagine sudden bursts of genius. We picture a lightning bolt of inspiration that changes everything in a single moment. But history tells a very different story. Consider Miyamoto Musashi, the most legendary swordsman in Japanese history. He fought 62 duels and never lost a single time. He was a master of strategy, art, and philosophy. How did he achieve such a legendary status? Was he born with a magical gift? Or did he wait for the right mood to strike? The answer is found in his famous writing, The Book of Five Rings. Musashi wrote a powerful sentence that every modern dreamer should memorize. He said, "Step by step, walk the 1,000-mile road." Musashi did not believe in the myth of sudden transformation. He completely rejected the idea of emotional inspiration. Instead, he devoted his entire life to the quiet, unglamorous rhythm of daily repetition. He woke up early. He picked up his sword. He practiced the exact same movements thousands of times, day after day, year after year. To the untrained eye, his daily routine looked incredibly boring. There was no drama, no applause, and no excitement. But Musashi understood a deep secret of human mastery. Greatness is not built in explosive moments. It is forged in the invisible hours when nobody is watching. He trained when he was exhausted. He trained when he was in pain. He trained because training was his anchors in a chaotic world. He did not let his mind debate whether he wanted to practice. Action was simply his way of living. If you want to build a life that lasts, you must abandon the search for inspiration. You must fall in love with the rhythm of repetition. Section 5. Western psychology meets Eastern philosophy, the neurological gap. Let us bridge the gap between ancient Japan and modern science. Why does talking about our plans feel so dangerously satisfying? Modern neuroscience provides a clear clinical answer to this question. When you share your grand goals with a friend or post them on social media, you receive instant feedback. People smile, they nod, and they congratulate you. This social approval triggers a massive rush of dopamine in your brain. Here is the psychological trap. Your brain cannot distinguish between social praise and real achievement. It feels the rewarding chemical rush right now. Deep inside your mind, a subconscious signal is sent, the job is done. We already won. As a result, the physical energy required to actually build the business. Or do the workout drops immediately? You have spent your chemical fuel on words instead of actions. Centuries ago, the samurai did not have access to brain scans, yet they fully understood this neurological gap. They lived by a strict cultural principle known as fugenjiko, which translates to action without words. They believed that high-value intentions should be guarded like a precious secret. To speak loudly about what you will do was seen as a sign of weakness and immaturity. It was a sign that your ego was seeking cheap validation. True warriors kept their mouths shut and let their results do the talking. They understood that silence compresses your energy, creating a powerful internal pressure. When you refuse to release that pressure through cheap talk, it has only one way to escape: through real, physical execution. Are you wasting your dopamine on temporary praise? Stop telling the world what you are going to do. Silence the noise, save your chemical energy, and let your work speak for itself. Section 6. Kaizen no Mi, the atomic power of the smallest step. If grand plans drain our energy, what is the alternative? The samurai answered this with a beautiful concept: Kaizen no Mi, the fruit of continuous small improvements. In the modern West, we are often obsessed with the idea of the quantum leap. We want massive, overnight transformations. We want to go from zero to hero in a single dramatic weekend. But the Eastern mindset focuses on a completely different dimension: the power of the microscopic step. Think about the math of daily life. If you improve your life by just 1% every single day, You don't just get a little better. Because of the power of compound interest, you become 37 times better by the end of a single year. The samurai understood this deep truth of human nature. They knew that a massive mountain is not conquered by staring at the peak and wishing to be there. It is defeated by placing one small foot in front of the other without stopping. Here is a question that reveals a fascinating cultural divide. In many global businesses today, Toyota's Kaizen system is used to eliminate waste and maximize efficiency. But why do you think this concept originated in Japan rather than the West? Do you think Western culture focuses too much on the individual genius, while Eastern culture master the power of collective, consistent habits? Which approach has worked better in your personal life? Tell me in the comments below. When you embrace Kaizen, you remove the intense psychological pressure of starting. You don't need to write a whole chapter today. You just need to write one single paragraph. You don't need to do a brutal 2-hour workout. You just need to do 10 push-ups. By shrinking the goal, you bypass your brain's fear response. You make action easy, and you make inaction impossible. Section 7. The Samurai Micro-Habit. The story of the one-form student. To see how this works in reality, let us visit an ancient martial arts school in Kyoto. Imagine a young, clumsy student who joined a prestigious dojo. Unlike his brilliant classmates, he could not memorize complex combinations. He was slow, and his physical coordination was deeply lacking. While other students quickly moved on to advanced techniques, he was left far behind. He felt completely overwhelmed by their speed. But instead of quitting, he made a silent vow. He chose to practice just one basic sword form over and over every single morning. It took him less than 2 minutes. His classmates laughed at his tiny, seemingly useless effort. They told him he was wasting his time with such a small routine. "A single form will never make you a warrior," they mocked. But the young student ignored the noise and kept his commitment. Day after day, the blade cut through the morning air. Then, a fascinating transformation occurred over the next 6 months. Because he repeated the exact same movement thousands of times, the physics of the form became automatic. His muscles memorized the precise angle. His feet found perfect balance without thinking. His discipline grew deep and unshakable. When the master finally called the students for a real sparring match, something incredible happened. The brilliant classmates who waited for inspiration were sloppy and hesitant under pressure. But the clumsy student moved like lightning. His basic form was so sharp, so perfect that nobody could touch him. His small daily step had created a foundation stronger than any grand plan. This is the atomic power of a micro-habit. It automates discipline, making consistency your default state. Section 8. Yagyu Munenori and the Fear of the Unsheathed Sword. Why do we still resist action, even when we understand the power of tiny steps? To answer this, we must look at the wisdom of Yagyu Munenori. He was one of the greatest samurai teachers, and a master of psychological combat. Munenori once left a profound warning for his students. He said, "The sword that waits for perfect conditions never leaves its sheath." Think about that image. A beautiful, deadly weapon, completely frozen inside its wooden case. Why? Because the warrior is waiting for the perfect day. He is waiting for the perfect wind, the perfect light, and the perfect emotional state. Munenori understood that this obsession with perfect conditions is actually a clever disguise. It is not laziness at all. It is fear. We deep down fear the raw discomfort of starting when we feel exhausted. We fear the mental resistance of continuing when our energy is completely drained. Most of all, we fear the terrifying possibility that our hard work will not look beautiful right away. To protect our ego from failure, our mind creates a beautiful excuse. I am not quitting, I am just waiting for the right moment. But the right moment is a ghost. It does not exist in the real world. True emotional strength is not about eliminating these uncomfortable feelings. It is about moving straight through them. The samurai did not possess a magical lack of fear. They felt the cold resistance just like you do. But they chose to treat their emotions as completely irrelevant to their duties. They knew that a blade forged in a controlled lab is fragile. A true sword is built in the brutal, unpredictable heat of the fire. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions to arrive. Draw your sword in the dirt. Section 9. Commitment over emotion. The warrior's code. This brings us to the ultimate mindset shift. To finally shatter your laziness, you must rewrite your entire internal code. Modern Western culture places a massive emphasis on how we feel. We are told to listen to our bodies, follow our passion, and act only when it feels right. But if you truly analyze your daily choices, you will see a dangerous reality. Your emotions are chaotic, unreliable, and deeply allergic to hard work. The samurai built their entire life around a completely opposite concept. They did not place their trust in fleeting feelings. Instead, they placed their trust in commitments. They lived by a simple, but incredibly heavy phrase: I am not controlled by my feelings. I am guided by my commitments. Think about the profound difference between these two states of mind. An emotion-driven person says, I will work on my project today if I feel inspired and energized. A commitment-driven person says, I will work on my project today because that is exactly who I am and what I promised to do. The first person is a slave to the weather inside their head. The second person is the absolute master of their destiny. When you live by the warrior's code, you stop treating discipline as a daily emotional negotiation. You don't sit on the edge of your bed for 30 minutes, debating whether you should write or exercise. The decision has already been made months ago. It is a sealed contract with your future self. Strength does not mean achieving a state where you never feel lazy again. True strength means looking your laziness dead in the eyes, acknowledging its presence, and then executing your duty anyway. It is time to stop acting like a temporary dreamer. It is time to start living like a committed creator. Section 10, Conclusion, draw your sword today. We have traveled through the centuries to uncover a brutal truth. The gap between the life you have and the life you want is not a lack of magic motivation. It is simply the heavy distance of unexecuted actions. Remember the brilliant young samurai Kazuma. He possessed a flawless, beautiful mind, but he left his physical weapon in the mud. He chose the comfortable warmth of his dreams over the cold discomfort of daily practice. Do not make his tragic mistake. The ancient wisdom of Bushido is not a dusty piece of history. It is an active, practical technology for your modern daily survival. It tells you that preparation without practice is nothing more than disguised procrastination. It tells you that talking without doing creates a toxic illusion of progress. Most of all, it tells you that the perfect moment will never arrive to save you. So let us make a powerful choice together right now. As soon as this video ends, I want you to close your browser and look at your real world. Do not try to change your entire life in a single day. Do not rewrite your entire 10-chapter business plan. Instead, pick one micro step that takes less than 2 minutes to perform. Write that first single sentence. Do those 5 heavy push-ups. Clear that one messy corner of your desk. The great swordsman Miyamoto Musashi built his immortal legend one quiet, daily swing at a time. The power to completely shape your destiny resides entirely in your willingness to act without feeling ready. Your emotions do not define you, your commitments define you. The time for dreaming is officially over. Stop waiting for the perfect weather. Draw your sword, step into the rain, and take action today.